doing, Sharon?
How are you, my love?
Oh, the last time I checked, I was awesome.
Good, good. Glad to hear that.
How are you?
Just want to let everybody know that we are recording for note-taking purposes as well as for administering the recording and the transcription to everybody that is on the invite list. If uh, please make adjustments as necessary. We are also going to be using transcription on the slides for anybody that needs them. And there's closed captioning available on the Zoom. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Digital Equity Summit report out. We wanted to give everybody a chance to know the work that's been being done around digital navigation, digital literacy, and digital equity on behalf of the residents of the state of Washington, as well as show you some of the great and wonderful progressive things that we've been able to do since October, which is when the digital navigation grant from the state office of broadband was distributed and delivered. My name is Sharon Navas. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Equity and Education Coalition, which is the backbone organization for Connect WA, which is the largest consortium grantee for the state broadband office. Other grantees include Community Health Network of Washington, as well as the Nisqually Tribe. With me is my my Connect WA team, as well as Patty Jo Farr from the Office of Broadband. She is the Program Manager for Digital Navigation Programs, as well as Jennifer Youngblood, who is the Co-Manager of Connect WA and Digital Equity, Abbas Gabato, who is the Co-Manager of Digital Equity at the EEC, and Jamie Witten, who is the Manager of Data and Analytics. Sorry, my coffee is not kicked in yet. I want to thank everybody for coming in. We have 44 people on the call, which is great. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. There will be somebody monitoring the chat, and I will try to answer questions as much as possible. There might be some questions that you have that will be answered as we progress through the PowerPoint. Okay, Patty Jo, are you okay with me getting started? Where did you go, Patty Jo?
I'm here. I just thought I'd take my face off because I wasn't talking. So yeah, go right ahead. I'm here to answer any questions that may come up in regards to specifically about Washington State Department of Commerce DigNav program.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So the digital navigation funding that came out from the state broadband office through a budget proviso was $14.7 million per year from September 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025. It was the proviso 5187 provides for funding for digital navigation services, devices, and subscriptions. These services must include, but are not limited to, one-on-one assistance for people with limited access, individuals seeking work, students seeking digital technical support, families supporting students, ELL, Medicaid clients, people experiencing people experiencing poverty, and seniors. These are the inputs by the proviso, some of the objectives, the outputs, and some of the outcomes from year 1 and year 2. The Digital Navigation Program grantees out of the NOFO BBDE 24001, us, Equity and Education Coalition. The project started September 1st of 2023 and ends June 30th, 2024. We received $10.2 million, and then we are slated to start again July 1st, 2024 and end June 30th, 2025 as per the fiscal year. With a grant of $10 million. We are a statewide consortium with 37 consortium members, including Communities in Schools, which has 16 affiliate organizations underneath them. Community Health Network of Washington received $3.8 million for the first 10 months of this grant, and then we'll be receiving $4.1 million for the project period July 1st of 24 to June 30th of 2025. They have 22 consortium members, and they as well are a statewide consortium. And then there was about $430,000 that was distributed to the Nisqually Indian Tribe with 3 consortium members, and it's a regional consortium including Thurston County and the Nisqually tribal community. This is just a sampling of the grantee consortium members. It's a very small print, but again, these slides will be available both on our website. I will mail them out to everybody's email addresses when we do send out a thank you email this afternoon. So you will have this, and it's also on the State Broadband Digital Navigation Project website, which we can link down in the chat. So we had a Digital Equity Summit April 18th and 19th in Suncadia. It was the first opportunity for all of the consortium members to come together in person, as well as the State Broadband Office. The new director of the State Broadband Office, Director Erin Wheeler, Patty Jo Farr, Lisa Heaton, Sarah Cox?
Sarah Clark.
Sarah Clark. Sorry, I have 5 Sarahs in my head, and their last names start with a C. So sorry about that, Sarah. So one of the reasons that it didn't happen.
And Lisa Heaton. And
I did
Lisa
say,
Heaton
yeah,
also.
I said Lisa. Lisa
Oh,
Heaton.
sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, Erica Henry, who's the deputy director. Am I missing anybody else from State Broadband? I don't think so.
Al Andy, who is our tribal liaison from the Washington State Department of Commerce, also attended the summit.
Thank you, Patty Jo. Thank you so much. We will put the list of attendees from the State Broadband office at the summit in our notes when we send them out. So the reason that it happened was to sort of convene all of the consortium members of the Digital Navigation Program for 2023-25, identify some meaningful outcomes, talk about some of the hurdles that we've been seeing since the beginning of the program. For some folks, the beginning of the program actually means the beginning of COVID, since we've been doing this work in some way, shape, or form because of the pandemic. And then to start planning out the next 12 to 24 months of work that we're going to be doing. The goal of the Digital Equity Summit was to provide actionable tasks to be implemented through new and existing collaborative partnerships, supporting equitable digital inclusion across Washington State. So this is sort of the output of the agenda. We did have an introduction with Director Aaron Wheeler. There was a tribal digital equity panel. There was also a panel of digital navigators who are currently on the ground doing digital navigation, digital literacy, and digital inclusion work throughout Washington State. There was a breakout session around the value of data. There was another breakout session around digital equity and reentry, workforce development, sustainability and partnerships, and digital equity in healthcare. Erica Henry came in on Friday morning to talk about Thursday morning, one of the mornings.
Yes, Friday morning.
Friday morning. Erica Henry and Aaron Wheeler came in on Friday morning to talk about BEAD program updates. And I'm proud to announce that we will be talking to you about the launch of a Connect WA resource app. So who attended? We had about 90 plus folks. I think it was sort of about 94 people who came from all of Washington State. These are all digital navigators or people who are running some of these programs, including Community Health Network and Nisqually Tribe, and 85 attendees representing nonprofits, healthcare, library systems, outreach organizations, community-based organizations, organizations that are focused on refugees, asylum seekers, reentry, formerly incarcerated, and anchor institutions like the library systems. And we wanted to hear from all of the consortium members, what are some of the hurdles, what are some of the wins, and where can we start putting a lot of our energy into for the next 24 months. So one of the things that was really a big topic was the availability of internet and supporting usage as much as a necessity, just like water, electricity, sewer. All of these things we know are integral to an everyday life in Washington State. And the conversation was really powerful around including internet as a basic human right, but also a basic necessity for living. We know, as well as all of you in this room, that for all of us to have survived COVID, we could not have done it without the internet. People were using it for mental health issues, for telehealth, getting food delivered, things as simple as catching up with family members who they could not see because they were not in their health pods. We know that the internet was the one thing that was keeping us connected, and we still have to build an infrastructure where 100% of Washington State can be connected if that is their choice to do so. During the Digital Equity Summit, we had a videographer from the Department of Commerce come in and actually do a video project. There were about a dozen or so video interviews from members of the Digital Navigation Program who are actually on the ground, as well as some of the folks who are running these programs, some of the folks who We did have one interview from someone that started as a recipient of a digital navigation, digital literacy program, and now has become a digital navigator herself. So we're able to tell the powerful people-centered story of why digital navigation and digital literacy is so incredibly important in Washington State. It's my understanding that the video project will be posted on social media as soon as it goes through the vetting and approval process at State Broadband Office and Commerce.
Yes, just to add to that, we will be sending it out, the link through GovDelivery once we have it fully vetted by leadership and finalized, as well as having a link posted onto the DigNav webpage.
Sure, Ellen.
Representative Ybarra, when you say who will run the system, could you talk a little bit more about what you're asking?
Sure. So I've been working with the counties, in all the counties in the state of Washington to bring internet to all the people in the state of Washington. And right now we've got to the point where it's like, okay, who runs the show? In Grant County, the PUD built the infrastructure, all the fiber throughout the county, and fibered 95% of all the customers in Grant County. But now all the rest of the counties are going, well, we don't have the types of funding that the PUD had in Grant County, so who's going to run it? So the big question right now is it going to be the PUDs that puts in the infrastructure, that runs the internet, that does all that build out? So there's nobody that's stepping forward that says, I, as the city of Quincy or the city of Seattle, are going to be the runner of this system. So that's the big hurdle that we have in front of us, is who has the funding to do it? Because if you bring fiber to the poor, which is great, wonderful, we all want that, the poor are not going to pay for the internet. So who's paying? Who's paying that bill? Is it the state of Washington? Is it the rest of the city of Seattle that's going to pay for the poor? Who's it going to be? And so that's all the big questions that people are asking. How do you do it? Who's going to run it? And where are we going to get the funding to make it happen? Because you can't run it without money. And so we have to figure out where that comes from. So
correct.
Yep.
Representative Ybarra, thank you. Thank you so much for that question. And I think that's a really poignant question. I think that because of the requirement for a public-private partnership in both the BEAD infrastructure work as well as the work that we're doing, we can get to an answer for your question. I think, however, it's going to be it's going to be an and question and answer, and not just a binary so-and-so or so-and-so is going to answer that question. I think we have to hold the companies that live in Washington State and whose headquarters are here in Washington State accountable for helping the state. We know that the ACP, which is the Affordable Connectivity Program, is going away, and there are some measures of accountability to that. But I think that we, as a stronghold in the community, can help answer that question if we all come together to the table and start thinking about answers that are not necessarily within the box of just fiber or just one or two things. I think it's an and answer. But I'm happy to talk to you about it.
And those are great questions. And just to let everyone know, as we're moving forward in this meeting and questions come up about BEAD and infrastructure, as this just came up, I will put in the link for our Internet for All email address. And also, as Sean stated, this is a recording, so this will all be brought back to Commerce leadership so they can, really walk through and vet the questions and provide any follow-up that can be done.
Yeah. Thank you, Patty Jo. So just wanted to give it a little introduction to the tribal digital equity members that were at the summit. Just to answer the question, or to just give a little bit of background, at the beginning of planning of the summit, we asked the Yakama Nation if we would have the summit on their tribal lands, and they gave us permission. We then also asked them if they could come in and open the Digital Equity Summit with, if they could open it for us, not just a land acknowledgement, but also to give prayer or just to acknowledge that we had asked for permission. They were able to do so. We were able to distribute some of the some pins and other representations from the Yakama Nation, as well as 8th generation for all of the attendees. And we had a tribal dinner before the beginning of the Digital Equity Summit. It was our way of beginning the process of trust building and foundation relationship building. And it was very well accepted. So of the digital equity members, Yakama Nation, Lummi, Makah, Spokane, Nooksack, and Nisqually were represented. That does not mean that others were not invited. It's just others were invited, but the timing either didn't feel right, or they couldn't make it, or for a variety of other reasons, they were unable to attend.
This meeting is being recorded.
This particular meeting. So the tribal equity needs that were brought up were control and maintenance of tribal electronic records, a lot of things around health, access to preventive care, essential services that can really help folks as they're navigating emergency communications through natural disasters. Obviously, employment was a big issue, developing a virtual workforce, job training and deployment. The ability to work from home, we heard that a lot of folks, both native, tribal, and non-native, want to stay in their communities. And now that we have a more accepting hybrid model of work, people want to be able to do that, stay in their communities, stay local, and bring the funds back to their local communities. And that seems to be one of those threads that is continuous through all of the communities that we've been talking to. Obviously, civic engagement was also a big issue. They wanted to be able to coordinate inter and intra-government communications, cultural preservation, and participation in online meetings and gatherings. And of course, education, we know, is the foundation for a lot of the concerns around digital equity and digital literacy for most of our communities. So remote learning, language revitalization, staying connected to cultural practices, and staying connected to one another. One of the breakout sessions was around healthcare. The three main topics that came up was increasing the access to digital platforms, telehealth, MyChart, patient portals, mental health capacities, and also being able to connect digital devices to the internet, like blood pressure cuffs, CPAP machines, diabetes machines, being able to bring all of that information to their medical digital platforms, as well as being able to share that information with their doctors, mental health therapists, nurses, other healthcare affiliates. Digital Navigators has been a huge conversation since the beginning of COVID. It is no surprise that it was a huge conversation in healthcare. Digital Navigators have, for the most part, been the primary source of information in showing individuals how to create their patient portal accounts, how to access those portal accounts, how to use those portal accounts for refilling of medication, setting up telehealth appointments, being able to track their well-being. But before most of the patients that we've worked with have been able to do that, we've had to help them with developing email accounts, assisting with language barriers, understanding the generational barriers of being afraid of going online, and offering some of this information. So for those of you that don't know, we have a program called Tech Connect, which is a base level help desk where we have 5 technicians who speak multiple languages and are multi-generational, who can answer some of these questions. They have also gone through their HIPAA certification so that when someone calls and says, I don't know how to set up my chart, not only can they do so, but they can do so, and we know that their confidentiality is the primary concern. As well, care coordination between multiple providers was a big piece of conversation that we heard over at the Digital Equity Summit in partnership with the Community Healthcare Network of Washington, as well as the Nisqually Tribe. And then integrating digital navigators into the clinical setting. Specifically, the Community Health Network of Washington has identified high level of components to integrate digital navigators into the role of clinical work, being able to use digital navigators to support individuals to wrap around their services, not just the health services, but also any of the social needs that they might have, especially since digital navigators are the first line of information, both back and forth, but also of resources and knowledge. And then distributing digital devices to support health and wellness, including tablets, iPads, smartphones, Apple Watches, and Bluetooth-capable blood pressure devices. We had a secondary breakout session on workforce reentry, more specifically workforce reentry for formerly incarcerated or justice involved. We know that there is going to be a huge push on workforce when it comes to the BEAD infrastructure work, both pre-planning, mid-project, and then post-project. So one of the things that we've been thinking about is how do we create a workforce cohort of folks who are not just digitally literate, but also come from our communities, come from rural, suburban, and urban areas, understand the locations that we're going to be doing some of this BEAD infrastructure work into, speak multiple languages, and can do things like support desk, software engineering, fiber engineering, construction, plumbing, electrician. We know that the BEAD infrastructure work is going to need a huge level of workforce, and the reentry workforce breakout session really made it clear that reentry folks are really interested in getting the training that they need to be part of that workforce development. There are several reentry programs. There's an entrepreneurial training session where employers not only hire justice impacted individuals, we have classes that are beneficial that include marketing, digital assessments, cybersecurity for small businesses, and payment systems. We're looking to connect folks who are in the reentry process to the economic development councils and nonprofits to support them as they're coming through with soft skills as well as hard skills, so that they are the most positively impacted when they go into the workforce. And then thinking about this in a holistic approach that includes mental health, economic resources, housing, supports, things like financial literacy, and we have programs like Fresh Start that have really been integral in making sure that we think about the holistic approach, not just as they're coming out of the justice system, but up to and including 6 months before they are out.
Sharon, we have a question in the chat. Who is leading the entrepreneurial training for reentry programs?
That's a great question. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this, is because we don't know all of it. So, we have Fresh Start that's doing it. We have Adonai Counseling that's doing it. There's a lot of our partners in ConnectWA that are doing these kinds of programs, but we know that we cannot cover the whole entire state. So we're looking to expand our partnerships to other organizations that are doing entrepreneurial trainings. We would love to have a partnership with other tribal members that are doing entrepreneurial trainings, so that we can have these trainings not only in urban areas, but more specifically frontier rural and suburban areas where we know our families want to stay. Leslie, I would love to talk to you more about who could be a partner organization in the Spokane and Stevens County areas. David, thank you. Yes, Prison Scholars Program is another group doing that. Yes, Leslie, small businesses can indeed help with that. And then we talked about areas for growth. Leslie, you brought up a really great point. We do need to identify more organizations that are doing low population work in different regions. A clear consensus was emerging that there needs to be a foundational digital literacy training, like a digital navigator handbook that can be added to the curriculum. Senator Wilson, I would love to hear more about your thoughts about JR 25.
Well, we're doing some work right now on institutional ed, both Rep. Callan and I, and we have, individuals that are in our juvenile system up to age 25. So K-12 covers, up to age 18, but then we've got a population sitting in a youth facility, but actually are adults. And so am really wanting to make sure, as we're thinking, that anything we can do to make sure we've got connections in not only one facility, but all of our facilities, especially as we think about reintegration, would love to make sure that graduated reentry, community parenting alternatives, all of those are spaces and places where we might do some work together. And so many nonprofits on the outside looking to figure out how to be connected. So I'm loving this. So thank you, and let's chat more.
Yes, Senator Wilson, I will get on your calendar. And I do want to say that one of our partners, House of Mercy, I literally just saw them on the other screen. I'm sorry that I didn't give you a shout out. They are doing amazing work as well. Yeah. I don't want to. The list of people that we work with is by no means exhaustive. So we are always looking for new partnerships. We don't know everything. So please, if there are other partners that we need to be talking to, drop it in the chat, email any of us. We'll share our contact information here in a little bit. Let us know, because I know some of you have heard me say this before, but I do think that this is one of those inequities that we can solve, and we can solve quickly if we all work together. Senator Wilson, I will definitely reach out to you and get on your calendar. Again, one of the things that I know everyone here is going to agree is that when people are coming out of the prison system and they're reentering, quality jobs is a huge issue. We have a lot of organizations, establishments, and businesses that have absolutely no problem hiring folks who are justice involved, and then there are others that shy away completely. And we know that not everybody. We know that everybody is not the sum of their worst decisions. So really thinking about establishing training cohorts that lead graduates to quality jobs. Also being able to offer the support systems for our cohorts that include mental health, social emotional learning, childcare, financial literacy. Fresh Start has a financial literacy that also helps with home ownership. We're bringing some of that in as well. We know that all of these things in tandem help remove recidivism. And then there was a breakout session on sustainability. I do want to caution everybody, this is not an exhaustive list. It was just getting, the print was getting smaller and smaller. I am an old woman and I can't see print size 8 anymore. So I just want you all to know that this is not exhaustive. We do have about 40 flip charts worth of ideas where we could go and build relationships with public entities, private entities, and build a partnership. Representative Ybarra, to your point earlier, where we can start thinking about who, what, and how we can start building and sustaining the infrastructure of Washington State so that it doesn't sit just solely on one entity, but it is a true partnership in making sure that Washington State is 100% connected and there's internet for all. We have created a data dashboard to continue collecting all of the data that we have. We have been able to, in 18 or so months, interact with 83,702 people. This is the beginning of the data dashboard. Executive level, Tech Connect, which I talked about earlier, which is our help desk department, receives about 905 calls. We have something called tickets. They're the bigger issues. Sometimes it's little things like I don't know how to create an email address, or I don't know why my computer is not working. So, and then there's bigger ticket issues, and then there's the chat. There's a chat function both on our website, but there's also a chat function on our Facebook page, and these are the numbers for that. The hope is to be able to bring all of this connected to the digital equity dashboard at some point so that we can, as a state, have a really concise view of what the data looks like in Washington State when it comes to digital equity, digital literacy, and digital navigation, but also tell the human story behind all of these things, because as we all know, that human interaction, that FaceTime to FaceTime interaction is sometimes the crux of why we do this work. So just, I'm going to go through a couple of slides so that you can see what the data dashboard looks like. It is on Microsoft's Power BI, so we're able to show different iterations of the data. We're able to dive deep into the data to see things like the distribution of race, county, year, and be able to see, how many people we've served that are multiracial or Native American. Some people have preferred not to disclose, and that's about 28%. That's pretty par for the course. We can also do things like look at age distribution in Adams County in 2023. So we'll be able to look at all those things and really see who's using the services most, and who is it that we need to either focus on. We know that at the beginning of the pandemic, our seniors were having a really hard time with digital navigation, digital literacy. We have expanded our digital literacy and digital navigation programs to include seniors, veterans, formerly incarcerated, people with mental health issues, people with disabilities. So you'll be able to see that and dive deep into some of these issues. We also collect SNAP information, Medicare, Medicaid, deaf, veteran. We have an app. So given the fact that we have 39 partners and that sometimes resources on websites get to be very text heavy, we had a very honest and deep conversation with the Department of Veteran Affairs, asking what would be one of the best ways to get veterans to access resources that are available not just on their website, but also throughout Washington State. And their response was, we would love an app. So part of the metrics and work plan for our grant submission to the Department of Commerce State Broadband Office was developing an app that collated all of the resources that we currently have at our disposal through our partners, and be able to have that accessible to anybody. Through some hard work through the Google Play Store as well as Apple Store, the app is now available. We were able to preloaded on 2,000 of the tablets that we've been able to distribute. Leslie, I'll get to your question in a second. We've been able to preload it on the 2,000 tablets. It's also preloaded on phones that we're giving away. The QR codes, you can take a picture of it and get it from the Google Store or the App Store. It is live, and we wanted to share it with you first. We did share it at the Digital Equity Summit. Again, most of the people in attendance were partners with us, as well as the State Broadband Office. But this is sort of our introduction to all of you that the app is live. We will be asking if there are resources that are not available. Obviously, there's a lot. Please let us know. We would love to have this be the resource available to Washington State residents so that they can get the resources that they need. If you download it, you'll be able to see. You can right now either choose English or Spanish. You can look for immigration services, food services, mental health. Again, these are connected to the 39 partners that we have currently. We're trying to get Community Health Network to also be a part of the resource app, and we're having conversations with different tribal communities to ensure that the resources that are available to tribal members are also distributed through the app. The partners are spread completely in different parts of the geography of Washington State. I know that part of the version 2 or 3 that we will come out with sometime this year will be to geolocate where somebody is calling or signing up from the app so that they get resources close by to them. Right now, all of the resources will be listed in alphabetical order, but we hope to be able to list them in zip code order connected to the location of the phone that is currently used. There is a private button if you do not want to sign up. One of the reasons that we added that is because we know that some folks are sometimes looking for resources when they're in an unsafe environment or are dealing with an unsafe situation, and we wanted to give folks the option of a private button so that it could not be tracked on their phone if they were using somebody else's phone. If they were in an unsafe environment, we wanted to give them some kind of option so that they could find a safe environment that they could be in without hesitation. We are also in conversations with folks to add the hotline for murdered and missing Indigenous women, so that this is an app that can be used if there is a sighting or if somebody knows that there is a trafficking situation. We can, anybody can use this app to report it. Currently, I'm actually going to ask Abbas, who is our Tech Connect manager, to be able to answer the question, Leslie, about an overall list of partners available for all demographics, or is it only available by selecting filters?
Thank you. So the question is like, says overall. Okay, I think to just kind of give a general context of the app is available for everyone in the state of Washington. So the approach would be somebody will be looking for a resource as a veteran or somebody who's just looking at resources from other community partners. So they will be accessing based on their need. Like they're looking for housing, they would be connected to organization partners that are providing housing needs. If they're looking for employment, they will be connected to organizations that are providing employment services. So it's not filtered to specific organization partners, but it's available within the context of the organizations that are already added to that. So the future version would be adding more organizations so that they can be available within that. But as of right now, all
So just to reiterate what Abba said, anybody can use the app. You don't have to go through a demographic drop down to use the app. We made it very, very simple. You can, I think at some point we will be able to filter by language. If for some reason, we know that not everybody uses English as their dominant language or uses English as their most comfortable language. So the hope is to be able to filter through that, filter through geography of where your phone is located or geo mapping, and then to be able to filter through services needed or issue. But we didn't want to necessarily filter via demographic because we want this to be used by everybody, not just one specific demographic or another. However, we are aware that there are tribal resources that are available to tribal community members. That is something that we are going to be having conversations with tribal folks about. But I don't know if we're going to add that specifically to the app or if that's going to be part of the assessment that happens between resource and the person looking for it. Leslie, I understand what you're saying. I can walk you through that so that you can see all of the partners and click on the links for areas. I understand what you're asking now. Thank you. So outcomes and action items. We had 12 big ones, and I sort of divide them into 2 pages. I did not hear anybody not be interested in helping to think through the infrastructure investment. How is it going to be allocated? Where are the resources going? There were a lot of questions about how community-based organizations, ConnectWA, Community Health Network, the Nisqually Tribe, and other tribal members could be engaged with the infrastructure, BEAD, and digital equity plan that are coming out. That was a huge part of the discussion on Friday. There is an appetite to be a part of some of these solutions since a lot of the people that are working on the ground know firsthand what some of the infrastructure needs are going to be. Obviously, digital literacy training is always going to be a huge component for us. Community technology centers, unfortunately, not everybody either has access to or feels comfortable in their local libraries. So having a community technology center at a community-based organization, somewhere we have a couple of community technology centers at temples and other places where people that are faith-based or issues-based, like House of Mercy or Fresh Start. Having community technology centers in other places has been a huge win. We, the Equity and Education Coalition, will be launching our own community lab, community technology lab in about a month, because we know that there are certain areas that are still unserved in the Seattle, King County area. Mobile connectivity, again, going to some of the questions that have been referenced, the ACP, which is the connection program, is going away. So people are really concerned about how much they're going to have to pay for their phone bill, their internet bill, and then building a public-private partnership that brings in government, business, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, reentry organizations, workforce development, community and technical colleges, K through 12, early learning. There's not a lack of organizations and public entities that can be a part of this conversation. We're hoping to foster the table where we can have these conversations with equity and community at the center of it. And then equitable tech education, integrating technical education into school curriculum, lifelong learning programs, and ensuring that students have the opportunity to develop essential digital skills, and then also use those digital skills to teach their family members what those skills are. Inclusive content, really looking at digital content and curriculum that is accessible and relevant to our populations, especially those with disabilities and language barriers. We have been trying to develop a curriculum that is in different languages so that we can offer that throughout the state. Data collection and analysis, you've seen our data dashboard. Our hope is to be able to connect it to other data dashboards out there so that we can tell the true numerical and human story of digital equity, digital literacy, and digital navigation in Washington state. Policy advocacy, I'm so glad to see so many of our legislators and representatives here on the call, because policy at the local, state, and federal level is going to be so incredibly important. This program could not have been launched without public funds from the Washington State Legislature going through the State Broadband Office. We know that the return on investment from this specific program is huge. We have seen people go from being completely scared of using their phone, their tablets or laptops, to being able to use those things for education purposes, to get their to get certifications and online bachelor's degrees from community and technical colleges. They've been able to get work, do things like get rental assistance, food assistance, and be able to survive the pandemic and then thrive afterwards. Youth engagement, of course, we know that our youth are using the internet much more than we ever have. And that's going to be such an important aspect that we keep centered when it comes to engaging our youth as advocates, being able to have the conversations with policy leaders, again, at the local, state, and federal levels about how important the internet is to their day-to-day lives, but also being able to have FaceTime interactions, mental health, and telehealth with their medical providers. And then, of course, we wouldn't have a program without evaluations and accountability, making sure that the mechanisms for monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of digital equity initiatives are concise, and also being able to hold not only ourselves but our stakeholders accountable for the work that's being done. Again, the return on investment for this particular grant has been astronomical. We've been able to, as you saw, service almost 90,000 people in 18 months, and all of that will be able to be shown through our evaluations and accountability. Okay, Patty Jo, is there anything that I've missed?
I don't believe so. I thought that was a great, there was a lot of work that we all did at the Digital Equity Summit. I appreciated everyone who was able to attend. It was great to see everybody in person for the first time. And I appreciated that, that we were all able to collectively come together and come up with all this wonderful work and identify the synergy and the intersecting areas of where we work together and can work together in the future as well. And I would just say, just keep an eye out on the Commerce webpage. We'll consistently be updating it with information as our programs, move forward in the future. And send us questions if you have any. I did put in there the link to the Internet for All, as well as the Internet for All webpage.
Any questions? You guys are a quiet bunch today, my God. Senator Wilson, I'm going to put you on the spot. Any questions? Thoughts?
You know me, I always have all kinds of thoughts. So I'm a connector. So I think systems. So I was just thinking about youth in particular. I just got done traveling with a bunch of youth, and they're thinking connectivity. They're also thinking AI and how they're helping their elders in their communities. And so would love to put that on the list to chat about. I'm not about doing it myself, but always about figuring out which window and door they need to go through to take their next step. And they have a deep interest in that. Again, especially immigrant refugee elders and learning about scams. They have all kinds of worries. So, and then again, in our JR and DOC systems of reintegration, and then just did a Pell Grant, so higher ed, and wanting to make sure we've got access and doing all the work we can to make sure individuals have access to education, which again, connectivity is critically important for. So all kinds of ideas swirling in my brain and have been watching. So really appreciative of the work and of the navigators and the focus on vulnerable populations or populations that have not had equitable access. And I do also believe it's an and both whenever we think about solutions. So thanks for putting me on the spot.
Oh, of course, anytime. That's what I do.
Yeah. No, I just think so we think about systems and we think about reintegration and all the work in reentry. And now there's some federal dollars for reentry in the juvenile space, so we may have some more opportunity to talk together about that.
I know that we threw a lot of information at all of you, and if you don't have any questions or comments now, there were some really great ones in the chat. We will leave the chat open for a little bit if you guys are processing all of the information. Again, we will take the transcription and the video and send it to everybody, but I know that Nadudi has a question, so I'll punt it on over there.
Okay. Hi, I'm sorry I came late, but it's exciting to see Senator Claire Wilson. Yay! Hi, so good to see you. But, I was just listening to the list that she had, and I'm like, oh my goodness, most of us in the coalition are already doing that. Mission Africa in particular, we have a program, a digital equity program called Youth in Tech. And we we serve the African immigrant and refugee community, the youth. And of course, they're interested in things like, AI and coding. And because, kids who grew up in America, most of them are tech savvy. But, we've taken it the other way, thanks to EEC that has empowered us to do all that. But we teach them things like cybersecurity, how to be safe online. We teach them coding. We teach them the first class we had with the youth was, teaching them how to put a computer together. Brought out the parts of computer, and they put it together. That really sold that program, and we are really, having to tell kids we have a waiting list, for them for the next class. So I just wanted to say that, some of those programs, or some of us in the coalition are already dealing with the youth, and it's exciting. It's growing like wildfire, and we are grateful that we have, the empowerment and funding from EEC to do that. But it's great to see you, Senator Wilson.
And can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful to Senator because she mentioned the refugee and immigrant community. If Senator will have time, it will take time to come to our premises to see how ConnectWise is empowering the community. Right now, so we started with training and digital navigation, and that digital navigation, not only we teach computers, we teach internet, we also prep the people for employment, and many of the people that we had were able to secure positions, and we teach them exactly how they can navigate. They can use digital devices, in workplaces, in schools, and so on. And now, one of the most interesting thing is like ConnectWise is empowering us, providing us with, so using us as channels to hiring us as channels to distribute those devices to the people, and we keep doing that. And all we are getting back is just a thank you, because now they learn, they can practice at home, they have something that they can use to access the digital era. And we just thank you for your presence here, and we thank Sharon too for the vision and all the efforts that she puts together for us, for our community to become part of the digital equity realm. Thank you.
Any other questions that we can answer?
Sharon, this is Patty Jo. I don't have a question, but I just want to follow with that, the success stories that was just talked about. So Washington State Department of Commerce, we have those videos of folks that we interviewed at the summit, but we are also looking at in the next year having additional video stories sharing the success for the individual and/or household to really elevate the great work that everyone is doing, because it's we can tell the story in data, we can tell it in documents, but to really have that human interaction and seeing the emotions that come with that story that they're telling of how impactful this is for them is so valuable. So we are working on that, timing of it, of course, is challenging to say when it'll come out, but it will be coming in the next year. I would just say just to keep your eye open and keep looking at the DigNav web page and Internet for All page. I think there's great things coming. So just wanted to share that for everyone.
David, your question about future state digital equity summits, obviously everything is up to the funding that we get. We are currently, when we applied for the digital navigation funding opportunity that came out in July and was presented in September, obviously it was an 18-month-ish contract from September 1st to June 30th, 2025. There is some planning for a secondary digital equity summit. This year we were limited to the space that was available at Suncadia, which if you've never been to Suncadia and Cle Elum before, please go. It is absolutely gorgeous and so incredibly peaceful. Great place to be. And from our feedback, it was a great place for most folks in Washington State to be able to travel. Our hope is so we were limited by the size of the ballroom that we were able to get. We were only allowed 80 people because of the location and the size of the room. We have made tentative plans to do a secondary digital equity summit late May, early June of 2025 to ensure that if and when we do invite legislators, decision makers, and public department entities, that they're able to do so because they're no longer in the legislative process. So, and because everybody knows I don't use but our hope is to be able to, currently the contract that we have not signed yet, but is in process, is for about 170 people. So we are expanding it to almost double the size of what we were able to do this year. We will probably do 2 days again, so that we are able to hear from more folks. Our hope and the feedback that we've been getting from members of all 3 consortiums that went and helped plan this year's Digital Equity Summit, again, the Nisqually Tribe Community Health Network and us in collaboration with the State Broadband Office, was that everybody wanted to hear from folks who were actually on the ground doing digital literacy, digital navigation, and resource work. So we are looking at what that looks like. I know that there are some folks that are really extended because they are small community-based organizations that don't have a lot of staff. But we hope to be able to offer the space and location for people who are actually doing digital navigation literacy and resource work on the ground to tell us the stories, what their hurdles are, and we know that they see it firsthand. So how is it that we as a backbone organization, but then also how the legislature and decision makers can make some of this work happen, not just through funding, but through public-private partnerships and using the tools that we all have in Washington State to close the digital divide. So more to come.
Thanks,
Okay.
Sharon, and appreciate you guys sharing the rich exchange that happened there.
Yes.
Great.
Oh, boom.
I just want to share a little bit of what we are doing. In a short time, we'll begin to see a lot more companies from our side of the community that are earning a lot more. Because here's an example. Here's a barbering salon that depended heavily on people walking in for their customers. Now they can use calendar to actually book people in advance. Not only can they book people in advance, they can actually earn money in advance. I can send money to that organization. So I'm sending 2 people to come and have a haircut. They weren't getting that revenue coming in. We have small businesses that we're supporting that can now, get more revenue because of this project. So I thought I should bring that up.
Thank you, Obum. That's really great. Love hearing these kinds of stories. We'll reach out to you. As we had mentioned yesterday, we have the EEC has a new communications and marketing person, so she will be reaching out to collect some of these stories. Thank you so much. All right, any last? I might be able to give you an hour back. My God. Don't tell anybody so you can actually get some work done. All right, so next steps for everybody on the call, we will be taking the recording, the PowerPoint, the questions, and the answers. We'll be creating an FAQ of all of the questions that have come up and add some of the answers in them. We will put the transcription, the notes, and the video on our website and send it to everybody that was invited to today's meeting. We had over 300 people invited. We had 70 people on the call, which is fantastic. I know that it was a short sort of turnaround time from the Digital Equity Summit on the 18th to today's meeting. My hope is that we, as a backbone organization for the digital navigation work that's being done, can have more of these report outs to you, our stakeholders, legislators, and decision makers, on a more often basis, maybe every other month, so that we can give you an update of the work that's being done. I do want to give a shout out to the tech team in the Equity and Education Coalition, as well as some of our program partners, Community Health Network, and Nisqually Tribe, as well as the Department of Veteran Affairs, because we are probably one of the only organizations that has ever created an app in less than 5 months that was actually functional and really driven by the community and what you all needed. So my hope is that you will give us the feedback as you play around with the app. The QR code will be in the notes as well. But let us know what else you want on this app. We want to make it community centered, and we want to make it what the community needs. So please let us know. Again, I know that this is going to be a huge resource for the residents of Washington State, so share it as much as you can with other organizations and other partners. We want to make this, we have made this accessible for everybody. So we will send out notes to everybody on the invite list and let us know what else you want to hear, what else you want to see. what we can do better, what we've been doing great. Shout out to everybody that's on the call. Thank you so much to Patty Jo Farr and the State Broadband Office for taking an idea that we all had at the beginning of the pandemic and bringing it to fruition. And thank you so much to the legislature for helping pass the budget proviso that is helping fund all of our work. I know that, again, the return on investment for this work has been fantastic. We are making changes in the lives of almost 90,000 people in the last 18 months. And that's not a small feat for several organizations that are 1 or 2 people led. So thank you so much to all of you. We will send out an invite for another report out probably by the end of the summer, because we will be doing a road tour of all of our partners and hearing from community members what else they want from digital navigation and digital literacy. So we're looking forward to reporting that out to all of you. With that being said, we will stay on the call for a couple more minutes if you have any questions, but I want to give you back an hour, 45 minutes of your time. So maybe go have lunch, go walk. It's a gorgeous day if you're in the Puget Sound area. Thank you so much for being amazing partners in this work, and we look forward to working with you further. Bye, everybody.
The recording has stopped.